Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope everybody is well. I got something that I want to share with y'all. I don't know why this came back to me, but last year I did a video on the UN's plan to have a global emergency platform for global shocks. Now, put your tinfoil hat on for a second. So, if they're getting ready to put together this pandemic treaty and sign some other stuff this month, right before this eclipse. And then you notice all these counties in the path of this eclipse are suddenly doing these emergency management notices, talking about preparing for 3 days of um, um, issues because of an influx of people coming to watch the eclipse. Now, we've been in this country for decades, and this has never happened before. So it just makes me wonder if what's going on this month is tied to what the UN has planned so they can institute these emergency powers. So let me share with you something that was in the Sustainable Development Goals Knowledge Hub. Um, and this came out in March 2023. So if you look at when this came out, compare it to, it's 1 year later almost to the day, or maybe a year and some weeks. This could be something that they are planning for. I don't know, but this article is really interesting. So let's get into it. So the title of this is Responding to Global Shocks. The UN's Sustainable Goals is Emergency Platform. So the highlights is to strengthen the international response to complex global shocks. The UN Secretary proposed an emergency platform that would leverage the UN's convening power and capacities in a timely and predictable way to identify and bring together actors at the appropriate level to respond. So the language that they even use is a little suspect, if you ask me. So it says a policy brief titled Strengthening the International Response to Complex Global Shocks, an Emergency Platform elaborates on the original proposed con- contained, the original proposal contained in our common agenda, one world order. That's a nice way of saying it, taking into account guidance received from member states and stakeholders. Remember, these people are not elected to represent you, but they are making up policies for the whole world, and nobody asked them to. Never let that um, go by you. So it says this Sustainable Development Goal Knowledge Hub story looks at the policy brief through a sustainability lens and draws attention to issues of import to ongoing discussions on the Pact for the Future, the expected outcome of the Summit of the Future. So they got a pact for the future, y'all. Okay, so it says we live in an interconnected world. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres recognized this interconnectedness in his remark at the launch of two policy briefs that will inform UN member states' consultations as they prepare for the 2023 SDG Summit and the Summit of the Future in 2024 on how the multilateral system can be strengthened to respond to the challenges of tomorrow. He underscored that shocks that occur in one country or sector can quickly have cascading consequences elsewhere, often in unforeseen ways. To strengthen the international response to complex global shocks, Guterres proposed an emergency platform that would leverage the UN's convening power and capacities in a timely manner and predictable way. I'm going to skip on down because I already read that. So it says the original proposal, which there's a link to this in the um, piece, for an emergency platform dates back to 2021 when the Secretary General issued his report titled Our Common Agenda, which, if you know where it comes from the Pope, outlining his vision for the future of international cooperation. A policy brief titled Strengthening the International Response to Global to Complex Global Shocks, an emergency platform elaborates on this idea, taking into account guidance received from member states and stakeholders. This SDG Knowledge Hub story looks at the policy brief through a sustainability lens and draws attention to issues of import. They talked about that at the beginning. So listen to this. This is the part that I want you to take note of. So it says the Secretary General notes at the outset of an emergency platform would not be a standing body or entity. Instead, it is envisioned as a set of protocols that could be activated. Now keep in mind, they are already activating these emergency protocols now. So this is how you know it's some dookie on the line. In the event of complex global shocks, according to the Secretary General's policy brief, such shocks could include, listen to this list, large-scale climatic or environmental events that cause major socioeconomic disruptions and or environmental degradation. Future pandemics with cascading secondary impacts. High impact events involving a biological agent, deliberate or accidental. So that means if they release any bioweapon intentionally, it's they got a plan for it. Events leading to disruption to global flows of goods, people, or finance. Global flows of people. What does that even mean? Is that trafficking people? Is that migration? So if people can't move, it's not clear. But anyway, large scale destructive and or disruptive activity in cyberspace or disruptions to global digital connectivity. So notice in these, we've been having these cyber attacks where people haven't had internet. So that's your cyber pandemic that's going on. People haven't been able to have power. Companies that use the internet to do business have been seized. So these things that are happening are ways that the UN can convene this power, these emergency powers. Also, note that the April 8th solar eclipse could um, create a Carrington event, which takes out all sorts of systems. Well, they already have a plan, a global plan for that. The next thing that made my eye raise was they have on this list a major event in outer space, solar eclipse, meteor, Carrington event that causes severe disruptions to one or several critical systems on Earth, and an unforeseen risk or black swan event. So, y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. But I smell a dead cat on the line. So it says those shocks the Secretary General argues are already coming at us. So they already know what's coming with greater strength and frequency, with serious implications for peace and security, peace and safety, sudden destruction, economic stability, and environmental sustainability. As the COVID-19 pandemic and the global cost of living crisis have shown, impacts can disproportionately affect the poorest and most vulnerable, throwing SDG progress and Agenda 2030 further off track. Lessons learned from responding to these crises highlight the importance of, listen to this, a rapid, predictable, and structured international response, maximizing the UN's unique convening role. And this is how the UN is going to end up here telling people what to do. So when you hear people talk about the blue hats and you see the blue hats, you'll know why. Catalyzing political leadership through networks of willing member states, multi-sectoral interdisciplinary coordination across the multilateral system. That means everybody going to work together. Everybody, government, law enforcement, military, supply chains, with member states. And every nation is a member. So, multi-stakeholder engagement and accountability in the global response, and strengthen accountability for delivering against commitments and bringing coherence to the international approach. So it says the Secretary General sees the proposed platform as flexible and agile, inclusive and multi stakeholder, and interdisciplinary and multi-sectoral. It would also need to be able to ensure solidarity and equity. There's those words. Strengthen coordination, leverage existing mechanisms, and focus on securing commitment, the policy brief notes. So it says it would be up to the Secretary General to decide when to convene an emergency platform in consultation with the UNGA President, the President of Security Council, relevant national authorities, regional organizations. Regional organizations would mean your local governments, the local emergency management people. So you got to pay attention to this. This is really important. So we got to keep an eye on this because this is where the flim flam, as Sister Pamela says, the flim flam is here. The flim flam is coming. Look at the date of this document, this story. Look at what time we're in. It's almost a year since this was written, and we're not that far away from April 8th. You notice all these cyber attacks happening every week, every day. You cannot tell me this is not what this is about. So since the decision to convene an emergency platform would take into account the severity, reach, and complexity of the crisis and any existing coordination and operational response mechanisms. In conclusion, the report recommends that member states consider several elements for inclusion in the pact for the future. These include recognizing that a strengthened international, entire globe response to complex global shocks must be flexible, and deciding that the Secretary General has a standing authority to automatically convene and operationalize an emergency platform should a significant global shock occur, agreeing that once activated, an emergency platform should be convened for a finite period, and the Secretary General may extend it for such time as necessary, is also among the recommended elements. So I don't know um, if this has been agreed upon. Oh, it says the SDG summit will convene at the level of heads of state and government in September 2023, marking the midpoint for implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It will carry out a comprehensive review of the state of SDG response to the impact of multiple and interlocking crises facing the world and provide high-level political guidance on transformative and accelerated actions leading up to the 2030 deadline for achieving the SDG. So if y'all think we ain't getting ready to go through hell so they can meet this agenda goal, you are sadly mistaken. So, again, I'm going to include this in the description. Please take a read. It's got lots of links for you to click on so you can keep abreast of what they've been planning. But I feel like, put my tinfoil hat on, this is what all these hacks and all this prep for April the 8th. And you got to have 3 days of food for the 3 days of darkness. We don't know if the 3 days of darkness are associated with the demonic um, plans of the adversary, or if it's actual a sign from the creator about our deliverance. We're getting ready to be led out of captivity, and Babylon is going to be destroyed. Don't know, but all I do know is this stuff is connected, and we need to pay attention. So keep watch, keep prepping, keep praying, keep seeking the Most High, repent for your sins daily, sense of commission and sense of omission. Obey those laws, statutes, and commandments, family. Keep the Sabbath and cry out to the Most High for deliverance, because there's no way we're going to be able to get out of this. Too many people are asleep. Too many people are not connecting the dots. The watchmen's messages are being stifled. People who are telling the truth are not able to get the messages out to the people. And so the adversary is still in control. It's prophetic, so what's going to be, it's going to be. But we need an intervention from the Most High, like immediately. Because things are going to get a lot worse for us the closer we get to um, April the 8th. And as you can see, they already have a plan to implement these emergency powers. So don't be surprised when you hear the UN start talking about what we need to do, even though those are not our people. We didn't elect them. And don't be surprised if you start hearing your local governments and your state governments sound like the UN, because everything and everybody has been co-opted. All right, y'all. This is Marley K. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload new content. Follow me on Rumble, Odyssey, Instagram, and Facebook. The links are in the description. A link to this story will be in the description as well. If you'd like to support the channel, links are in the description all the way at the bottom. And again, make sure you keep watch. This is a very critical time for all of us. Know the devices of the adversary. He has many. All right, this is Marley K, and I'm out.